You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. There's a piece up at ESPN.com where it takes each of the college football way too early top 25 and looks at their season-defining game. I don't necessarily know that I care too much about a list like this. Tell you all the time I don't really care about lists. It's just an interesting conversation when you look at it. What struck me, though, is when they looked at LSU at their season-defining game, they listed it as the opener against USC. And I'm not sure that I could disagree more with that. I think we're all excited about it. It's two historic brands. You're playing in Vegas at an NFL stadium. Both teams are replacing Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. Both teams were atrocious defensively a year ago, replaced their defensive coordinator and defensive staff. So there's a lot of questions, right? LSU loses a ton of production. USC not only lose Caleb Williams, but Marshawn Lloyd and Brendan Rice and Taj Washington. I mean, they're very similar, the two teams going into 2024. But you can lose a non-conference opener and still make a 12-team playoff. So look back to the very first year of the 4-team playoff. Ohio State won the national championship in 2014. They lost at the beginning of the season at home to a Virginia Tech team that finished 6-6, still made the playoff, won the national championship. So, no, I don't think you can necessarily say that LSU's opener against USC is a season-defining game. The one for me that is the season-defining game is the Ole Miss game, because Ole Miss is coming to Baton Rouge 7-0. If you have not looked at Ole Miss's schedule before they get to Baton Rouge, Ole Miss opens up with Furman, Middle Tennessee, they're at Wake Forest, they host Georgia Southern, Kentucky, then they're at South Carolina before they visit LSU. So it'll be the second of back-to-back road conference games for the Rebels, and they will be 7-0 coming to Baton Rouge, and LSU's going to be coming off a bye. By that point, October the 12th, that's going to define your season. Because regardless of what happens against USC, that's the game that is going to tell you what you are. Because if you win that game at home, awesome, you also win a tiebreaker over Ole Miss potentially if that were to come into play, and it also gives you more margin. If you lose that game, you've left yourself really with no margin for error moving the rest of the way through your schedule, because if you lose, again, hypothetically, say on your home field to Bama, now you're at 10-2, and you've lost a tiebreaker to both Ole Miss and Alabama. So the season-defining game for LSU, for me, is Ole Miss. I mean, if you're undefeated, hypothetically, if you're LSU, you beat Ole Miss, you're undefeated, and you lose to Alabama in Baton Rouge, okay, it sucks, but you can win out, go 11-1, and still make the playoff. So, for me, the answer is Ole Miss. And by the way, for ESPN at this piece up at ESPN.com, their answer for Ole Miss, as far as their season-defining game, is LSU, because they are coming to Baton. You need to wrap your head around this. Just like a couple of years ago, Ole Miss is coming to Baton Rouge undefeated. Ole Miss is coming to Baton Rouge 7-0, and they're going to be a top 5 team in the country. And that game day will be here, and it'll be a massive madhouse scene, and everybody's going to be talking about that game. And that's going to be the fulcrum game for both teams in 2024. Interestingly, for Alabama, they listed Alabama's season-defining game as their game against Georgia. Georgia visits Tuscaloosa September the 28th. How interesting is that going to be for Alabama, who opens up against Western Kentucky, South Florida, and they're at Wisconsin, and then they get an open date, and then they host Georgia. So they'll have an extra week to prepare, but look, even if they go and win at Wisconsin, they're 3-0 going into their first open date. They host Georgia. If Kalen DeBoer gets walloped at home by Georgia, I can tell you everything you need to know about this version of Alabama football in 2024. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.